let's move on and continue watching the Tara's barn.
So the birds have been with us now for 9 days. They are weighing in this morning at 213 grams on the scale. Slightly behind the charted schedule, but not too concerned considering it's only the middle of the second week that they're here. They are drinking 80 mils of water per head per day. I've already raised the feed lines to accommodate their growth. You can see already how they're stretching there. Another thing that happens now is their wings, their full white feathers start to appear on their wingtips. That's also a good sign. This starts around 7 days or so that you'll start to see their feathers grow. It's very comfortable in here. Temperature is 30.1, so we're already coming down on the curve to allow for the fact that the birds are now starting to begin to generate their own heat, so we can start reducing the temperature. It will really start to drop again around day 14 as the birds start to fill up the barn. So far litter is amazing, light and loose. They're very comfortable. They're spread out across the whole barn, which is a good sign for a farmer. They show that they are very comfortable in here. If they weren't, there'd be signs such as being tucked up against the wall, looking for cool if they're too warm, or they'd be huddled in groups if they were too cold. All signs that we want to check to see what our environment is inside. They're really giving you an indication of how they feel. The morning of day 15, and the birds are now weighing in at 392 grams. They are drinking roughly 136 milliliters per head per day. It is also now down to 28 degrees in the barn. It's very comfortable in here. It's around 60% humidity, so our humidity has risen over the past week, but there's been a lot more moisture, of course, added to the litter. And the birds are still extremely comfortable. We've been raising our water lines, raising our feed lines. Now the birds are starting to stretch their necks so that we have the water go straight down instead of having them dip their heads to take a drink, which then can increase moisture on the barn floor as well. The birds have now been in the barn for 23 days. This morning the humidity rose to about 70%, but it's quite humid outside, so it's understandable that it will get a bit more humid inside the barn. The birds are now weighing around 1 kilogram on average, and it's a pretty uniform flock. I haven't seen a lot of small versus large birds. They are now drinking roughly 190 milliliters of water per head per day. The barn temperature right now is 24.1 degrees, and it will continue to decline over the next week until I hit 20 degrees in the barn, and there it will stay until we ship them out. Good morning, it's day 31 in the barn. We're working towards 38 days to shipping. The birds are currently weighing 1.65 kilograms. Ideally, I would like to see them weigh around 1.7 kilograms. It could be just a variation of who's stepping on the scale. As you can see in front of me, there's one just hopped off, 4 are weighing themselves in. Humidity in the barn is around 67%. The birds are roughly drinking around 280 milliliters of water per head per day. Barn litter conditions are amazing. The litter remains quite loose, which is great. There's no stickiness on the floor, which can sometimes happen when you get a bit of too much humidity in the barn. Lights are now sitting at around 40%. I may drop them to 35% if I see that they become too flighty. I just need them to stay settled, calm, to eat, to drink, to keep doing what they're meant to do here, working their way towards shipping day. It's day 38, last day for the birds to be in the barn. We begin shipping tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. They are stepping on the scale this morning at 2.28 kilograms. They're drinking roughly 353 milliliters of water per head per day. They are fully feathered out. This bird is absolutely beautiful. It's grown according to the growth chart. The conditions in the barn are amazing. The litter is still light and fluffy. Even with the increased humidity outside, it hasn't caused any stickiness on the barn floor. The birds are comfortable. They've finished their cycle of eating, drinking, sleeping. They've gained what they needed to gain, and tonight we'll see them load up on trucks and head down to the processing plant. Look forward to seeing you later on. I will give you a run through of how we take down the barn and get it ready for shipping, and give you a glimpse of how we end the cycle.
All right. We got really good information about Tara's farm and about the rearing phase for different ages. So I'm going to add a little bit more information about litter management. Why should we care about litter management? Because litter can affect air quality. For example, if the litter is wet, if it produces the ammonia, so in that case, air quality can be compromised. It can affect animal welfare, because if the litter is wet, we will see some intestinal disease. We will see some food problems. For example, like lesion footpad dermatitis. So that's why we need to have a good management in place. If the ammonia level is high, we will see blindness in the flock. So you can see what would happen to the chicks' eyes, what would happen to their feet if we don't have a good management on litter. So the role of the litter is to help absorb moisture. It helps to dilute manure, because manure can be mixed thoroughly with the litter, and in that case it wouldn't really produce ammonia or other gases. It provides some insulation from the packed dirt floor, so it's really important, especially during the brooding phase. It reminds me to tell you this statement. Always try to even up the litter before chick arrivals. As you can see on my background from Tara's farm, here the litter is completely even, and there is no mountain and valley. I mean, it's really smooth. So that's why the birds can have access to the water and to the feed without having any problem. So you need to even the bedding materials before chick arrivals. So also, it will also cushion, because the chicks are not stepping down on a hard space all the time. So that's why we need to care about the bedding materials. So bedding materials, should have some characteristics like lightweight, free of pathogens, cheap, and non-toxic. Here in North America, we usually use pine shavings, sawdust, straw, peanut hulls, and rice hulls as a bedding materials. As I said, we need to make sure that litter, spread evenly. The litter depth should be about 3 to 4 inches or 8 to 10 centimeters. And we really need to control the moisture in the litter by having a good management on ventilation and dietary factors and choosing a good bedding materials. The litter should be friable. It means that it should be dry and it shouldn't clump together. And if you squeeze it, it should fall through your fingers, and it should have good quality. So if you end up with a litter like in this picture, we call it cake litter. So it shows that it's compacted, there is lots of moisture, and also it can contain high ammonia, and it's the indication of a bad management in the house. Maybe, drinker management is not good, they are leaking, and that's why the bedding materials are wet. Or birds density. Sometimes you are using more birds in a square meter. Usually, we should put 31 to 38 kilogram birds per square meter. In some situation, you can increase it, but remember, if you have high stocking density, it's going to create a litter problem, and then you will see ammonia level goes up, and you will see ventilation is ruined, and the birds will have health challenges, like, as I said, intestinal problems or food problem. So if you end up with a poor litter quality, it can be due to the following reasons. Maybe your litter material is not really good, or it doesn't have sufficient depth. Maybe humidity is high in the barn. Maybe there is health challenges like enteritis going on, drinker design and adjustment, poor ventilation, or some dietary factors, for example, high salt and protein in the diet, or poor quality fats in the diet. So in that case, again, you will see litter problems.